The United States is the fourth largest nation on the planet in terms of land area, and in that space are some of the most open and traveled roads in the world. This sheer size alone gives endless opportunities for exploration, travel, and vacation, with many taking their adventures to the road. So today, we decided to take a look at 10 examples of roadside attractions throughout the states for anyone looking for a quaint and quick stop while they're out and about. But to be clear, we'll be taking the roads less traveled and looking at unusual attractions that usually get left forgotten. Now, let's have a look. Number 10. Cadillac Ranch, Amarillo, Texas. Though Carthage in Nebraska is a bit more grandiose than our number 10 entry today, Cadillac Ranch has a more unique origin story that qualifies it for today's list. When eccentric Texas businessman Stanley Marsh III heard that San Francisco-based art group Ant Farm was looking to do a new unique project, he jumped on the opportunity to contribute to the effort. After gathering 10 different Cadillacs, whose production years varied between 1949 and 1963, Ant Farm planted the 10 cars headfirst into the ground in a random pasture in Texas at angles that were reminiscent of the pyramids of Giza. The piece of art was intended to show the evolution of the Cadillac, particularly the tail fins that made the automobile manufacturer famous. Despite this, Ant Farm has made no attempts to stop visitors from painting the cars and removing pieces over time. Now the vehicles are barely recognizable, as the creators have even promoted the defamation of the Cadillacs, so it's common to see driver-bys stopping to spray paint the cars, and most layers of paint rarely get to dry before another visitor is painting over top of it. 2024 will mark the 50th year of Cadillac Ranch's existence, and for anyone traveling the famous Route 66 or I-40 now, it would be a fun and unique stop once you get just west of Amarillo, Texas.
The hole in the rock. Displayed very prominently, the advertisement painted across the side of the ginormous boulder.
Number 9. Hole in the Rock, Moab, Utah. In the early 1900s, brothers Leo and Albert Christensen found a sandstone cliff just south of Moab, Utah, and decided to hollow out a part of it to create a shady getaway for cowboys pushing cattle through the dry and hot area. Then in 1940, Albert decided to turn the cowboy getaway into a home for his family and started turning the cave into a home for his family, during which time the brothers opened the Hole in the Rock Diner in 1945 for the passing cattlemen. While many cowboys and ranch hands couldn't afford a hot meal at a restaurant, the Christensens would often give a meal and a few beers to patrons in exchange for some help in the excavating of Albert's new home. Eventually, after the home was completed in 1952 and the family had moved in, the restaurant closed and both brothers passed away, though Albert's wife Gladys Christensen had the large letters painted on the cave face and promoted tourism to their home with a gift shop. While the family has since sold the site, the current owners have left the Christensen home exactly as it was, with 5,000 square footage and 14 rooms still perfectly preserved for tourists to admire, separated only by the sandstone pillars that make up the interior. Today, the Hole in the Rock has the largest collection of Lyle Nichols metal art sculptures, an exotic zoo for visitors, as well as small shops for visitors, and it was even featured in the 2014 film Transformers: Age of Extinction. Anyone traveling Highway 191 in Utah between Moab and Monticello can stop and, for a short fee, visit one of the most unique homes in the United States. Number 8. Cross Island Chapel, Oneida, New York. In the 1980s, a man named Chandler Mason had a cross sitting in his pond that people admired, though some said that a church would be cute on the small body of water as well. This gave Mason an idea to build the smallest church in the world. After referring to the dimensions of the previous title holder in the Guinness Book of World Records, he set out to complete the task in his garage. Then, in the middle of winter, Mason used a snowmobile to plant his tiny church in the middle of the pond, where it sits to this day. Now, around 2 to 3 weddings are held in the church every year, which can seat 2 people, just enough for the necessary parts of a ceremony, though many more come to at least see the quaint, non-denominational church. Anyone who wants to visit the world's smallest church church, or even plan a wedding there can do so, as it is maintained and open to visitors. Though it's called an island, there is no land to be seen. Instead, any visitors to Cross Island Chapel have to take a rowboat to the small wooden dock that the church rests on, propped up by support pillars. If you want to get there, take exit 33 off of I-90, as it's off the beaten path a little bit, but worth a quick stop if you happen to be going past Oneida on your travels anyway.
Yeah, look how big that muskie is though, guys.
Number 7. Muskie Fish, Hayward, Wisconsin. Just 70 miles southeast of Lake Superior in the small northwest corner of Wisconsin lies a small town named Hayward that manages to get around 100,000 visitors a year, despite only having a population of around 2,500. This is because the town plays home to the National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. While any Hall of Fame is credible enough, this one can boast about playing home to the world's largest muskie, which is also the world's largest fiberglass sculpture. The giant fish, which stands 143 feet long and 41 feet tall, is accessible to visitors who can enter through the doors at the tail and view over 3,000 entries to the hall as they climb the steps to the mouth, which also doubles as a balcony, perfect for unique vacation photos. Even for those who aren't fans of fishing, if you're driving through Wisconsin, it would be hard to pass up the opportunity to take selfies in the mouth of a 4-story tall muskie that was financially backed by the sale of fish-shaped whiskey decanters, courtesy of the Jim Beam Company. Number 6. Parthenon, Nashville, Tennessee. In 2022, 14.4 million people flocked to Nashville, Tennessee as tourists. Most go for the Country Music Hall of Fame, the CMA Fest, and even the NHL Draft and Awards. This city has even been dubbed Music City and is the destination of any country star looking to make a name for themselves. But long before Nashville had earned this moniker, it was known as the Athens of the South, a title which architect William Crawford Smith would use as inspiration when building the recreated Parthenon in Centennial Park. While the original deteriorated, it was rebuilt and still stands today as a monument to classical architecture just west of downtown Nashville, though many miss out on it for the more famous bits of the city's history. The recreated Parthenon, which was based off of the original and built to scale, features a recreated gilded statue of Athena that stands 42 feet tall and also serves as Nashville's art museum, with 63 paintings from American artists dated from the 20th and 19th centuries. Despite standing over 100 years, the Nashville Parthenon barely gets the coverage it deserves, as it is truly a masterpiece both inside and out.
I'm tired at once. I pray to God every night that I get back to my old self and start working again.
There's this thing going on right now with my dad where he might be better off in a retirement home, but I believe in the same kind of freedom that he does. And
Number 5. Bishop Castle, Rye, Colorado. In 1969, Colorado native Jim Bishop bought a plot of land on a mountainside in south-central Colorado and got to work building a cottage for his family with locally found rocks, though this quickly developed into an outright castle. Since then, Bishop has been single-handedly expanding the structure, adding over 1,000 tons of rocks annually. During the nearly 60 years that he has been creating his castle, Bishop has had to deal with the government interference, thanks to him pulling the stones from San Isabel National Forest. This probed the government to demand payment for every truckload of rocks pulled from federal land by Bishop, as well as the Colorado Chamber of Commerce refusing to list it as a local site for a number of years. Despite these issues, though, Jim Bishop kept building his castle, and eventually the government realized the economic value to a castle in the middle of Colorado. Now, the castle has multiple towers, the tallest of which is over 160 feet tall, beautiful spiral staircases, arched windows with great views of the mountains, a grand ballroom, and even a fire-breathing dragon. Still, after all of these years, Jim Bishop continues to add to his castle, which is open to tourists and complete with a gift shop, creating a fairy tale construction in the wet mountains. Anyone wanting to go see an authentic hand-built castle can do so if they are traveling southwest of Pueblo, Colorado on State Highway 165.
To Death Valley. Now you can't see the numbers because I'm just way too close, but I believe it said 91. I believe the car said around 90.
Number 4. World's tallest thermometer, Baker, California. On July 10th, 1913, the hottest temperature ever recorded in Death Valley, California, at a staggering 134 degrees Fahrenheit or 57 degrees Celsius. This was a world record that Baker, California businessman Willis Heron wanted to commemorate in 1991. So he had the Young Electric Sign Company create a 134-foot tall thermometer at a cost of $700,000. Unfortunately, soon after it was built and installed next to Heron's Bun Boy restaurant, the world's tallest thermometer was knocked over by 70 miles per hour winds, prompting the Baker businessman to have the monument rebuilt and filled in with cement. Since then, the ownership of the thermometer has switched hands multiple times and was even turned off for 2 years between 2012 and 2014 due to the high maintenance cost. Heron's widow, Barbara, ultimately saw to it that the ownership returned to the family, and she was the one who saw the rewiring and updating of the thermometer, as well as the opening of a new gift shop for visitors, Temp 134. Now the gift shop, which of course features a number of clever souvenirs, also doubles as the world's tallest thermometer museum, complete with the original circuit board and an oil painting of the Heron spouses. There is even an outdoor picnic area, complete with a fake skillet and eggs that heats up to the Death Valley sun. Anyone who's curious about this unique monument can swing into Baker, California and see for themselves just how hot that region can get.
We can now say we have touched the world's largest teapot.
That's awesome.
Number 3. World's largest teapot, Chester, West Virginia. While the world's largest teapot may seem a bit mundane compared to the other entries on today's list, it is once again the history behind the structure itself that makes it so unique. Hires Root Beer, which was a staple of American soft drinks before being discontinued in the 2010s, created the 12-foot tall, 44-foot wide structure to serve as a giant keg. Hires eventually sold the keg to David Strickler, the legendary pharmacy owner who allegedly invented the banana split. Strickler would cut out the windows and doors in the keg and turn it into a concession stand for a putt-putt course, though he would also sell it to the West Virginia businessman William Devon. Devon, who promoted the local pottery industry of West Virginia, added a spout, lid, and handle, and turned the former keg stand into the world's largest teapot after transporting it to Chester in 1938. By 1980, the teapot had fallen into disrepair and was at risk of being all but forgotten before the local community enacted a major restoration project in 1990. Today, it's still maintained regularly for visitors and offers a quaint and curious stop for anyone traveling between Ohio and Pennsylvania along Ohio's Highway 7, or who already just happens to be passing US Route 30. Number 2. London Bridge, Lake Havasu City, Arizona. According to the famous nursery rhyme, London Bridge is falling down, though this is very misleading of the 1931 version of the bridge. Instead, the bridge, which was built to replace the shoddy medieval versions, had begun to sink at a rate of 1 inch every 8 years by the early 20th century, as it was unable to handle the newly invented automobile that was becoming famous. So, in an attempt to salvage whatever they could from the historical bridge, the city of London curiously placed it up for sale. And even more curiouser, an American businessman named Rupert P. McCulloch won the bidding war that ensued in 1968 at a price tag of $2.4 million. McCulloch then spent a further $7 million to transport the 10,276 individual bricks to a small town in Arizona called Lake Havasu City, where he then had a man-made channel dredged and the bridge reassembled. Now, the bridge spans 930 feet across the Bridgewater Channel and is the most visited man-made site in Arizona. It has even appeared in films like The $1 Million Mystery, as well as Return of Sherlock Holmes, where they cleverly used the bridge to confuse the detective about whether he was in Arizona or London. Anyone who wishes to see the 1831 London Bridge can do so without even leaving the United States when they drive through Arizona on Highway 95. where the Lake Havasu City and the world-renowned bridge lay parallel. Number 1. Flintstones Bedrock City, Williams, Arizona. South of the Grand Canyon and northeast of our last entry, the London Bridge, lies one of the most curious roadside attractions ever put up in the United States that even its new owners couldn't bring themselves to put an end to. The Bedrock City of Raptor Ranch in Williams, Arizona. Sitting on a desert plateau, Bedrock City was the brainchild of Arizona natives Francis Huddy and his wife Linda Speckles. With a love for the Hanna-Barbera cartoon The Flintstones, the Speckles created an entire bedrock-based park for anyone to enjoy. Even for those who have never watched the classic cartoon, there's fun to be found at the volcano named Mount St. Wilma, the dinosaurs scattered about, the Flintstone vehicles that would take massive leg power to work, and the homes that will make anyone feel like a caveman in all the best ways. When new owners Troy Morris and Ron Brown bought the property in 2019, they had fully intended to demolish the Flintstones-themed park in order to make way for their Raptor Ranch, a conservatory for predatory birds. But when the public heard about this, they immediately began crying out, campaigning against the new owners and even climbing walls just to get into Bedrock City one last time. Seeing that they had underestimated the community's love for the local tourism attraction, the new owners instead decided to try to find a way to blend the two properties. While it may seem difficult, it would be even worse to lose such a beloved property, as they now estimate that Bedrock City makes up around 80% of all visitors to the 30-acre property. Now, anyone who wants to get lost in their childhood can do so at one of the most unique roadside attractions in the United States when they are traveling south of the Grand Canyon on AZ 64.